Hi, I'm Natalie Otteson, and you're listening to the Mindset School podcast for soulful entrepreneurs, episode number 25. Welcome to the Mindset School podcast, a show for spiritual entrepreneurs who are ready to stop feeling stuck, reconnect to their soul's purpose, and create a deeply fulfilling life and business. I'm Natalie Otteson, transformational life coach and reconnection healing foundational practitioner. And I can help you scale and grow a six-figure business from a place of inner authority, wisdom, knowledge, and truth. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you are looking to take that first step towards your dream of running your own business, this is the show for you. Ready to step into your power and move forward with clarity and purpose? Let's go. All right, you guys, I am getting ready to head out of town. I am going to go visit some family in Utah for the next couple days, which I am so excited about because I get to see my family and I get to see the beautiful mountains. If you have not been to Salt Lake City, Utah, you are missing out. Or really, honestly, anywhere in Utah. Utah is one of the most beautiful places, I think, on the planet. With so many different terrains within a couple hours, it's just incredible. So if you haven't visited Utah, here's my little plug. You got to go. So today I am actually wanting to share an episode that I did a little while back with a friend of mine. His name is Bracken. He has his own podcast called the EnRich Your Soul podcast. And I had the pleasure of speaking with him. This was after the pandemic had hit, and we were talking about how tough life can be. And I don't know about you, but post-pandemic, life is still tough. So we had talked about challenges. We had talked about how life can throw us loops when we least expect it. And basically, we were talking about the silver lining and how important it is to have more conversations around self-care and mental health awareness and how to better help people holistically in everyday life. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. And I will see you next week when I get back from Utah, and I will share all of the beauty and the greatness that I experienced while on my little vacation. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week. Enjoy.
I'm so thrilled to welcome Natalie Otteson, who is from Kansas City, my hometown. And she is a certified transformational life coach, Reiki practitioner, and astrologist. She is a mother of two amazing children, a wife to an adoring husband, which I'm sure he wrote that, and a seeker of light and truth. Her personal journey is what has driven a lot of her experience and her ability to connect with her clients. And I'm excited to share her story, her insights, and how she can benefit and how anybody can benefit from energy practices as we look more towards opportunities for self-care moving forward, coming out of the pandemic, if it ever ends, but really how we take better care of ourselves. So Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about this. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about how you got to the point of setting up Soul Sister Coaching, which is your company, and what got you to the point of really focusing on energy work and how you can serve your clients.
So I started Soul Sister Coaching 5 years ago. In fact, it was December of this year that I hit my 5-year mark.
Congrats.
Thank you. On Instagram back in the day when, building your profile, building your brand was quite the thing.
Right.
But I actually started Soul Sister Coaching because I was going to do this with my sister. The two of us, she's in Utah. I'm originally from Utah. And then we moved here almost 8 years ago to Kansas City. And we were actually going to do this together. We were going to do this coaching business together because ultimately I have really big dreams. And one of them is having like a wellness center. And so I wanted the two of us to kind of create this business together. It didn't end up quite working out that way, but I kept going with Soul Sister Coaching because I got into coaching about 6 years ago. And then at the same time started my astrology stuff and the Reiki at the same time. And I ended up getting into that because I was raised in a very predominant religion and didn't really understand and realize how much my worth was tied into this religion. And I ended up stepping away from the religion because it didn't feel right to me anymore, but didn't understand the process of how much worthiness, how much of who I was tied into this religion, and how much it took for me to overcome learning to love myself and accept myself for who I am. And there was a long journey of that entire process. But yeah, I ended up doing some pretty major therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, which then got me into meditation. And the meditation piece, which I resisted pretty heavily for quite some time. I was what I call a closet meditator. I was one of those people that was like literally in the closet meditating, because I was like, if my husband knew I was in my room meditating, he would think I was a freak. So it was when meditation wasn't super popular, not like it is today.
I don't think I've ever heard of a literal closet meditator. Yeah. I've heard of people saying I meditate from time to time, but like literally you were in a closet meditating.
Like I was in a spare bedroom, and I would shut the door, and if I heard him coming, or if he opened the door, I'd be like, not doing it. Because seriously,
just organizing, don't come in here.
Exactly. I was like, he's going to think I'm nuts, because it was when meditation wasn't really popular yet, but meditation ended up saving my life, because I had a lot of really negative thoughts. And in fact, I posted about this today, that we have somewhere around 60,000 thoughts a day, with 80% of them being negative. And I was really probably higher than that. I had a lot of really negative thoughts. And the only way that I knew I was going to survive is if I changed the way that I thought. And so meditation was that key, was that foundation for me. And that was what kind of brought me to my here and now. So
and I appreciate you sharing that. And I loved and reading your website too. You're very vulnerable and very upfront about your story, your journey, your past pains. And what I love is that, and you and I've chatted about this a little bit, that we have a lot of these similarities on the belief in energy work, the belief in meditation. And so what I constantly hear from people is that either they don't believe in the power of meditation, or they feel like they don't have time, which I will call BS on people all day long, because I'm like, how long do you spend scrolling on social media?
Yeah.
You could probably take 5 of those minutes of the 75 to 90 that you probably spend on a generous day and spend that on meditation. And it's actually more beneficial. So when you hear people, or when you talk to people about meditation and they're a little bit apprehensive, how do you talk to them to get them to convince them to try it, whether in a closet or in a living room or whatever? How are you breaking down that barrier? Because I think, having experienced that myself, I know it's powerful, and it's powerful, but how are you convincing these individuals to give it a shot?
I always tell people to start out small, because a lot of people, it is hard. The process of actual sitting down, people have so many preconceived notions about what meditation is and what it should look like, and all of those things. And I actually went through a process where I meditated every single day for over a year. I set a goal for myself, and I did not miss one day. It ended up being like a year and a half, but I mean, I did not miss a day. In fact, I even went on a girls' trip, and I didn't miss even on the girls' trip. In fact, I had them do it with me. But I always tell people to start small. And then if somebody is struggling with meditation, I generally encourage doing guided meditations or meditation apps, or, anything where they're just sitting for a minute and then building upon that. So literally, if you just sit there in meditation, doing a mantra or doing a guided meditation for 1 minute, do that, and then move to 2 minutes the next day, and then maybe 3 minutes the next day. And don't push yourself so far that you're going beyond what you're comfortable with, because it's a process. It's not a perfect, right? Like, it is literally the process, just like yoga, just like exercising. It's just like anything else that you're doing. You're not going to go out. I actually relate it. I created a course around this, but I actually relate it to running a marathon, because I ran a marathon a couple of years ago, and I didn't run out. First of all, I thought people who ran were crazy. I was like, oh, you're one of those runners. You're nuts.
You're like, oh yeah, you're that person.
Seriously, I was like, you're one of those crazy people. But soon figured out why people do that. But I didn't run out. I didn't start by running a marathon. I started by running to the end of my street, and then running a mile, and then running 3 miles, and then 5, 10, 15, it was a practice. So it's the same with meditation and any of these things that we end up doing for ourselves. It's always a practice. We're never going to get it overnight, and it's never going to feel comfortable immediately. But the more that we do it, the more we get comfortable, the more we create the habit, the more we can change our minds, the more we can change our lives.
I agree wholeheartedly, both as somebody who has entered meditation and also I've run one marathon. I will never do it again. It was an amazing experience, but I agree that it's that gradual introduction and that gradual consistency that builds it. And, and when I've talked and shared my meditation stories and I share it in some of my presentations, I always say, who doesn't want to start with like just having 1 minute where nothing else is going on, but you breathing, closing your eyes and being calm.
Right.
And I don't care what your life looks like otherwise. Anybody would cherish something like that, whether you're a parent, whether you're single, whether you work, whether you're not working, whatever your current life scenario is. 1 minute of just saying, I'm not doing anything, but just paying attention to my own mind, my own breath. And if I don't think of anything monumental, because I think that's the other thing too, is that, and this goes with any new transition or goals, that people feel like they have to have this epiphany the first time out. Like, well, I meditated for 5 minutes. I didn't have any life aha moments. So I guess that didn't work. Like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is gradually getting into it and getting more in touch with yourself. And that is something, because you talked about guided meditations, which is a great way of getting people into it. It's like riding a bike, right? It's, putting the training wheels on your bike. And because you do guided meditations through your courses and through your memberships, correct?
I do. Yeah. So through my course, I do a 4-week course and you do the same meditation each day for that week. And then, so I have 4 of them that we do. And then I also do a membership called Soul Sister Society, where I actually tap into the astrology of the month. I do a new moon meditation, a full moon meditation, and you get there's this whole thing that I do with that, but I do these guided meditations, and it's generally, it goes with the flavor of the moon. It goes with the flavor of the month, but it also is very divinely inspired by spirit or into the intuition that comes to me and what ends up coming forward for that new and full moon. So so I do those as well each month. So every 2 weeks, I'm doing a meditation live with my Soul Sister Society group.
And when you're working with these individuals, is there when people have, I guess, their own epiphany or their own breakthrough with it? So somebody who is maybe not meditated previously starts with a guided meditation and then all of a sudden gets into the habit of it. What are you hearing that they're benefiting? Like, what are the benefits to them? What are they saying? Is there are there different examples where somebody's come and said, hey, I didn't do it before, but I'm now doing it, and this is what it's doing for me? What are you hearing from your clients when they say that?
Yeah. So, I could just show you literal text stream after text stream of people coming to me either right after the meditations or literally watching their journey unfold over, because I started doing these meditations about a year ago, at the beginning of this year, and just watching these people's journeys unfold, allowing them to tap into spirit, allowing them to connect with their own synchronicity. And then you add in the astrology piece, their own individual astrology, their own individual charts where, if somebody wants that done, I can go in and read their chart. And the thing that I love the most about astrology is that it literally gives you permission to be who you are. It's an opportunity to see your blueprint, see that God was not making a mistake when she made you or he made you, but that you're not a mistake and that this is your personality. This is who you are. These are your struggles. You're not crazy. Welcome to this thing called being a human being. And here you go. Here's something that's going to help you tap into this. And that if you're able to focus your mind and you're able to, focus on some gratitude and you're able to do a positive affirmation every day and you're able to do some positive reading, you can literally change your life. You can literally change who you are on a core level. And it will also open you up to this incredible intuition that everybody has. There's not one person on this planet that does not have this incredible gift of intuition that is seriously your superpower. It is your guidance. It's your guidance system. And it helps you discern everything in your life as long as you're able to listen to it, as long as you're able to tap in and listen to it. So that's what I do. That's what I teach. That's what I help with. That's
so amazing. And I love that because I feel like everybody, if they haven't tried it, should try it. And even just a short-term run of things. And again, if it's nothing else, but hey, I just want to close my eyes for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes and relax, maybe that's your thing. And then you just listen to what's going on in your mind. And I want to talk a little bit about, because you mentioned it earlier. Well, number one, because the Soul Sister coaching obviously indicates that it's more feminine driven, female driven, women driven. Women tend to have more openness to things like this because they are more intuitive than men are. Men that have more feminine energy are into this, present company included. But with women too, and having worked with many women's groups, I've heard time and time again, and it's heartbreaking how many pressures exist on women from the minute they open their eyes. And so when you work with these women and, taking the specific pressures that women face on a day-to-day basis, and I mean, there's a laundry list, unfortunately, but where are you seeing, especially maybe in the last couple of years, that this has benefited these women the most?
Yeah. So as somebody who struggled with body dysmorphia and just innate worthiness, even to the point of, getting breast implants and then having to take the breast implants out because they made me sick, but just really and understanding that this whole thing ended up stemming around this worthiness of there was nothing wrong with me. I never needed to change anything about who I am. Like, I am worthy and I am beautiful and I am loved just the way that I am. So I think there was kind of two questions in there. So I'll answer both of them. But the first would be, I do gear more towards women because I feel like women need to support women. We are so programmed to attack each other and to dismiss each other. We need more women supporting more women. And there is enough for everyone to go around. And so I really do truly feel that to my core, that we need to be the examples that we want to see. So I feel that it's very important as a woman that I support other women and that I help to heal other women, because that's what I needed. The second thing is that, men are included. This isn't, in fact, I have several men that hop on my meditations, my new moon and full moon meditations. And in fact, I recently had one of them reach out to me, send me a message and just said, I was really apprehensive about doing this to begin with, but after doing it, it's truly amazing. And it really is meant for anybody. Anybody can do this. So because we do have the divine feminine and the divine masculine inside of us. So we do have that balance. We do have that polarity inside of us. So I think tapping into both sides of that, but I feel like my niche, is working with women because I think women need healing. I really feel like we have a duty to heal the divine feminine inside of us, and same with the masculine. But obviously for me, I had a lot of unworthiness surrounding myself, my body image, all that kind of thing. So I feel like it's really important to help women through that process.
I agree with that. And I was honored recently that I got to speak with a group of women out in California. And they have the same mentality that it's women empowering other women. And I'm always taken aback, and maybe there's an obvious answer here, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So why is it that women are so competitive? Well, and I shouldn't say in general, but why is it, you mentioned the conditioning that women are competitive and or maybe they're a little bit backstabbing or condescending to other women. Why is that? Because I will say this, and I have no apologies whatsoever. There is nothing more powerful than a room full of women supporting other women. Like I experienced that. I got to sit in the middle of a room of 100 women who are just very positive, very successful, very tapped in, and they're there for each other. And I will say flat out that there is nothing more fantastic than that energy. So I'm just always curious of why somebody would choose that other route. Why would they even consider that?
I think it has a lot to do with trauma, unresolved trauma on their own part, because I can say that I had the tendency to do that too. I was, gossipy, maybe got jealous, but I also wasn't included. As a girl growing up, I wasn't included in my religion. I wasn't included in friend groups. I wasn't included in that. I can't tell you the reason why. I don't know why that was. I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I've always been a good person. I love people. I care about people. I don't think that that's ever changed. But for some reason, I was always excluded. And I just don't want other people to feel that way. I want, like I said, I think there's enough to go around. I think that we should be more inclusive as women instead of excluding people. And so that's what I truly strive to do. But, there can be jealousy, women get jealous of other women because of our own insecurities. We do have a lot of that, women feel a lot of insecurities. And the thing is that, again, those things are mindset shifts. we have those automatic programming. We have those automatic thoughts all the time. And if we're able to not attach those automatic thoughts, if we're able to redirect some of those automatic thoughts, then we really can shift the brain. We really can shift the mind. And then we don't focus on that. The other thing I think about that is when we're looking at everything that we don't have, we're not grateful, right? If we can end up shifting into gratitude and be grateful for what we do have instead of what we don't, I think that that's a really powerful mind shift as well. And it allows us to, I don't know, just see things that are in front of us.
So, because I mean, I think it is, I think there is that perception, and I love the way you put it, that a situation could be sitting in front of you, and depending on what lens you're looking through and what your mindset is and what your energy levels are when looking at it, because again, like I go to that organization that I got to speak with, anybody in that room could have been negative, anybody. And I will say without a shadow of a doubt, every single woman in there was there to support, to be positive, to be happy, to celebrate other women. Like it was just so dynamic, but they were all looking through that lens voluntarily.
Yeah.
And so to your point, when there's the trauma, there's the insecurity, I think and I love how you keep bringing up the point of there's enough for everybody. Because I think too, having worked with some very established and powerful women executives, they say all the time, like our opportunities are limited, not only in quantity, but in time duration. So women that are taking on executive roles have, and I never heard this statement or this phrase until last spring when I worked with a group of women executives about not only the glass ceiling, but the glass cliff. So if you're given the opportunity, your cliff is a lot more fragile and shorter in width because you can't make mistakes. So again, I go back to the additional pressures that women feel all the time, body image and status and all of these things. And so if you do voluntarily say, oh, I've got to get mine because others are going to try to get theirs and it becomes a competition.
Right.
That's bringing in that negative energy. But if you say, hey, look, because I will say, without any trepidation whatsoever, I promise you, if women bonded together in the right way, as these women were, the world would be taken over by women. And I'm here for it. Like I celebrate that because truly, like that group of women that I worked with and other groups of women that I've worked with are so dynamic and they make better decisions. I mean, I'm a guy. We make bad decisions all the time. So to me,
it gives me goosebumps. When you say that, it literally gives me goosebumps because there is so much power when women come together and support. If we use that energy in supporting and collaborating with each other instead of being in competition with each other, it would be incredible what we could accomplish.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Something that I kind of, to shift gears a little bit, but still staying on this tap, you mentioned a phrase that I love on your site that I loved. And it's the concept of a soul-led life. Mm-hmm. And I want to hear, number one, what that means to you, but then how does that benefit someone who chooses that path? And it's kind of in parallel to what we're talking about, the choice of lens and the choice of attitude and the choice of perception. So tell me a little bit about what a soul-led life looks like to you and what it looks like for somebody who is coming into it.
So to me, a soul-led life is somebody who is literally moving from spirit, like moving from their own intuition, somebody who's tapped into that and is moving through life guided, right? Instead of just winging it. As a kid, I had a really strong intuition. I was told that my intuition was wrong by everybody, by my parents, by my religion, by you name it, by school, whatever it was. I was told that the information that I had was incorrect. And because of that, I ended up getting into trouble, and to the point where I ended up being sexually assaulted. I knew I was going to be in a bad situation and I didn't know how to get out of it because I had not trusted in myself. I didn't have my intuition to guide me. I didn't have my intuition to tell me what to do and how to do it. Over the years, I ended up leaving, like I said, the religion that I was part of and started tapping into this God-given gift that I had, this intuition. And it's now my guidance system. I do not deviate off of it. If my intuition tells me to do something, I do it. If it tells me not to do something, I do it or I don't do it. So a soul-led life to me is literally making decisions and choices from this superpower, this intuition that I have. And so what I try to help teach my clients is doing the same thing. And it really started out simple. It started out in meditation. Like I said, I've had this gift we all do. We all have intuition. We all have this gift. It's just a matter of if it's been suppressed, if it's been, shut down, if it, whatever it is, we all have this ability. And so it's little acts of listening. Again, it's like a muscle. It's like meditation. It's the more you use it, the stronger the muscle gets. And so it was these little acts of listening. So I would be in meditation and be like, okay, you need to reach out to this person, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. And I started acting on these intuitions, and it started just guiding me. And then once you start listening and once you start moving in that direction, the synchronicities become unexplainable. Like you get to the point where you can't even tell people enough of what's going on because so many synchronicities are falling in place. It's incredible. So I do my life. I run my life by guidance, and I help people do the same thing for themselves. So that's what the soul-led life is for me.
I love that. Again, being a highly sensitive person, like my empathy is off the charts right now, having heard what you went through. And especially when you hear that a decision could have been made differently if you weren't driven in a way that you were second guessing your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Which to me is abhorrent, that somebody would do something like that would cause somebody to second guess their own knowledge, their own intuition, their own energy. And so I am profoundly sorry for that. However, that, again, like I think with every trauma or tragedy, because we all go through them, it is a choice of what you do with it on the other side. And obviously you're now in a position because of this. And again, like I applaud your vulnerability on your website, talking about the things that you've been through. You could have just said, you know what? Nope, I'm just going to close up shop and I'm just going to keep to myself and protect myself. And you've now stepped into this power to help other women overcome these things. Because again, and the statistics are staggering and sickening how many women go through the things that you go through.
Yeah.
Or that you've been
I'm not
through.
Unique. Unfortunately, I wish I was.
Again, like I agree 100%. And it is heartbreaking to think that, because it is such a rampant thing, and it's horrible. And I think that is where, and again, I mentioned it earlier, I think there are so many pressures and things that are put upon women that they don't deserve, nor does anybody, but especially women, because it seems to be a constant thing. I'm of the vintage where I hesitate using the word gaslight because it's a little bit more modern of a word than I tend to use, but it feels like women are constantly gaslit on their thoughts and made to think that what they think is wrong or not worthy enough or their value is not high enough. You mentioned it a couple of times. So again, I applaud you for doing what you have done with your tragedies, turning them into positives and helping other women find their path. And two, I think that you touched on it a little bit. And so I had a guided meditation one time that completely blew my world wide open. And the way that my guide told me to look at it is that your energy is like a glowing orb within your body, but it can be covered with darkness. It can be covered, and she thought of it like, think of it like small curved pieces. And the more you put on it, the more it dims your light, and you can't tap into it. It's obstructed, not only visually, but from a proximity standpoint. So the more darkness and the more shells and the more coverage is put over it. And that's, the people that are second guessing you, your own self-doubt, negativity, trauma, those kinds of things that are keeping you from your energy, that is not allowing you to live the most full soul-led life as you talk about. And so talk to me a little bit about the process, because I'm sure you work with women that they step into this journey, and then all of a sudden, because with any kind of journey like this, there are going to be those times of reckoning where you have to face something that you've dealt with in the past. And so when you work with women that are coming upon those situations or walking right into it, it's almost like you could see the storm on the horizon. Both of us, having spent time in Kansas, we've seen those storms on the horizon, swell up.
Yep.
What is it like, and what are you telling those women when they get close to those? How are you leveraging your personal experience to help guide these women take these things head on, because it's terrifying?
Yeah, it can be. I would say the biggest thing is holding space. So one of the things that I feel like I'm really good at, especially working with my clients and even, holding these guided meditations and things, is that I'm able to hold space. And I do that. I open that portal, I hold that space for people, and I allow them to share, and I allow them to be. I would say a lot of times it's just a matter of allowing somebody to actually just express what's going on with them and not telling them that they have to usher through that, or that they have to dismiss that, or they have to, go ahead and feel that. Feel it as long as you need to. And there's a 90-second rule. A lot of times if you get overwhelmed or overcome by something, if you just take that 90 seconds and you sit with it for 90 seconds, it comes and it releases on its own. So really allowing clients to be able to do that is really important. And then also allowing people to figure out what their values really are. So one of my favorite things that I do with my clients is that we figure out where their values sit. What do your values look like to you? And, I do, one of my favorite tools is this value survey that I have, that it really allows people to figure out what is most important to you and how do we achieve that for you? And then looking at the life, their life in the, I call it the wheel of balance, looking at this wheel of balance and all these different areas of their life and how those values show up for them in their lives. Like, I think once people understand that, and then again, tying in the astrology of this is where it's strong for you, this is where it's not, tying all these things together and bringing all these pieces together so that people can build upon the strengths that they already have. They're not trying to find something outside of themselves, but specifically working on their own values that they want, but then bringing in parts and elements of their chart of like, this is going to be difficult for you, or this is going to be easier for you, things like that. So
I want to talk a little bit about too, we talked about a couple of benefits of doing this kind of work that you do and how it benefits your clients and really any individual that goes down this path. We've talked about overcoming past trauma. We've talked about opening up our own energy. We've talked about beneficial happiness. Are there other things that you find as if you were to say, like, if somebody were to come to you and say, what am I going to get out of working? And I think too, when I think about, life is hard. It's kind of the tear down approach. Like, life is hard enough as it is. Life as a woman is even harder than life in general. And then add on the last 2 years which is just a Pandora's box of tough crap, let's be honest. Right, exactly. Right. So when somebody talks about or asks, or how are you conveying, like, what are the benefits? Are there other benefits or things that you point to say, like, look, these are the things that you're going to experience, and here's how you're going to come out the other side better? Are there specific things that you discuss with your clients as far as benefits go?
Yeah. What's that one meme that's out there where it's like, you spend enough time with me, beware, you're going to end up liking yourself, right. Like, that's what it's like working with me, because a lot of the times, especially when I'm working with clients, people or even friends, we'll even just talk about friends for a second. When I have friends come to me and they want to tell me things that are going on with their life, it's like, okay, would you want me to just listen, or do you want me to help? Which one is it? Because I can only listen to somebody talk about things for so long. Eventually you're going to have to take action. So my thing, and what I love about coaching, is that it's all action oriented. So it's about moving you forward. It's about me seeing you in your highest and your best and helping you move to that highest and best. So when you work with me, I'm going to hold you in that light, and I'm going to hold you accountable as well. And so, I'm going to help you become your most worthy self. I'm going to help you illuminate the light that's inside of you, because we all have that. We all have that light inside of us. And so I feel like I am here to illuminate the collective consciousness. And so I want to help illuminate that in other people. And so when you work with me, that's what I'm doing with you. I'm helping you build the foundation for yourself so that you can become your best self. I'm giving you the tools so that you can create, like I created this morning routine. This is what works for me. I've done it over the last 13 years. I perfected it over the last 13 years. But take that and make your own, like do something that works for yourself. But like we were talking about earlier, consistency, follow through, mindset, all these things, they're what shape our lives. They're what shape us into who we are today. So those are the things that I do when I'm working with my clients. I'm going to hold you accountable to your mindset. I'm going to hold you accountable to where it is that you want to be in your life. And if you're not there, then you're not a tree. Move. Let's do something different. Let's get you to where you want to be.
I love that, because I think so many times I feel like people get to a point where they need to unload, or they need to relieve some of the pressure mentally and emotionally. They do it, and they understand the path of what they've got to do to currently, this is where the complaint or the trauma or the stress lies, and they understand where they want to go. Most times, I think, from my experience, I don't know if you've experienced this too. Like when I work with people, they're like, I kind of want to be in this grayish area of happiness and success, but I'm not sure exactly what it looks like. Yeah. But once you figure out what that is, once you put a really fine-tooth comb on that and figure out specifically where that person wants to be, there is that road of accountability. Mm-hmm. Because it's wonderful to realize, like realizing where you are is hard. Really pinpointing where you want to go is hard, but it's that work in between that has to be done. And it's not, and we've touched on it earlier, is that it's not an overnight thing. You're not gonna have one session and say like, oh, I've figured it all out and I've seen the light and I've gone from A to Z overnight. Thanks so much. Right. And I think that investment in oneself too, because I think we so many times, and this from my own personal experience, going through counseling, going through coaching, there were things that were, again, right there in front of me, like you said earlier, that I was just not paying attention to.
Right.
It's kind of like those days where, and I've done it before, where I'm like, where's my phone? I'm like, oh yeah, it's in my hand. It's sitting right in front of you. You just don't realize it because your eyes are so closed and blinded, and your mentality is so clouded with these judgments and all these other teachings and conditionings that all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. But you didn't realize it was there until somebody like you comes along and helps you open up that window. Like, here's your world. There's the path. Let's get you on it and get you to where you want to go to.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned the whole where's my phone thing. That's when I know when I'm stubbing my feet, if I'm kicking, couches, or like, where's my phone? It's in my hand, those types of things. That's when I know, like, I'm not meditating enough. That's
exactly.
I'm not paying enough attention. Yeah.
Yeah. That means I need to go meditate a lot tonight because I've had that moment recently. So I love this. And I'm so thankful to you for everything that you do. Thankful for sharing your story. Thankful for sharing all your information. I'm so excited to share this information with everybody so that they can get involved. But I am so thankful. Thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for transforming what could have been a closure of soul and a closure of energy into something that is helping tons and tons of people and tons more to come. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
Thank you. And thank you for helping me share my message, because I just want to get it to as many people as I can, because I feel like it's important. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of the Mindset School. Ready to dive deeper into finding your purpose and create a deeply fulfilling life? Visit soulsistercoaching.com for more guidance and resources. See you next week.